Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You are now listening to the Backlook Cinema Podcast with Zach and Zoe. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the movies of yesteryear. You can reach us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter by searching for Backlook Cinema. Check our show notes for more info, and now, let's get it in.
Hi, this is Zach.
Hi, this is Zoe. Thank you for joining us for the Backlook Cinema Podcast with Zach and Zoe, where we take a look back at the movies of yesteryear. And we just finished watching.
I'm trying to remember.
Trying to
remember the Long Kiss Goodnight.
The Long Kiss Goodnight. It was Samuel L. Jackson and Gena Davis. Wow, it took some time to get that out there, huh? So yeah, we take a look back at I think it came out in the 1980s, a 1980s classic action adventure with some spy intrigue in this particular episode. So let me see. I'm forgetting everything that we're supposed to be doing right now. I'm forgetting. This is the 19th episode, and thank you for joining us for our 19th episode. And the reason we started this show was to strengthen our bond, between father and son. We watch movies that I liked when I was growing up in the 70s, and 80s, and 90s, and I share them with Zach, my son, and get his impressions on it. So, I know that these are great movies, and that's why I do it. That's why I do this to him. I know that they're great, so I expose him to great movies.
Also, you can get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, face masks, and other bunch of items at our website, backlookcinema.com.
And also at backlookcinema.com, you can leave us direct feedback, comments, suggestions, etc. We have a new email address, fanmail@backlookcinema.com.
And please, if you like our show, then rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app that you might be using.
Oh, that's awesome. So let me ask you something. What have you been up to?
Well, on YouTube, watching videos.
Right.
Mainly watching like toy review videos.
Right. Toy reviews.
Yeah, mainly on the Transformers ones.
What, new Transformers or old Transformers?
Well, they're not new. They've been out. Some of them sold out because, people have that type of money while I didn't.
Right.
Oh, and this one guy, I can't remember the rest of the name, but I know the name is Jobby, and it's like I know what his icon looks like on YouTube. I was like, yeah, I like him. He's very funny. And what most common people have issues with Transformers is either A, when it comes to trying to transform them, B, the back of the Transformer, which sometimes gives them a backpack, so because that's where most of the stuff goes in, or C, the kebble, which is what you would see when you transform the Transformer. You would see bits of the robot when you're not trying to see that.
Oh, bits of the robot.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
it's very difficult trying to make a transforming toy.
I mean,
some of them are very successful at doing it, where you don't see any parts of the robot, and other times it's like you got giant pieces of the robot sticking out.
Or just straight up, just right there on the bottom of it. But like he doesn't only review Hasbro. He also reviews can't remember the other company. I think it's Tommy something. Can't remember. But they also make Transformers their first parties, and he also reviews third parties. Sometimes the third parties are way better than the first parties. Other times they're not, because again, they are third parties. And to avoid legal rights of making them, they call them a different name, and they don't put on any logos.
Oh, yeah, they've been doing that since forever.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I remember once, it's like, this is back in the 80s when Transformers came out, when they were like way more, they were way more prestigious than they are now. It was way more exciting because nobody ever had Transformer toys like this before. Like before, you might have a robot that transformed to some unrecognizable vehicle, or they might transform to a different type of robot. But it's like for a Corvette to transform to a robot, that was a big deal back in the 80s, or a jet to do that, or whatever. So I remember the Transformers, or I should say Hasbro, actually came out with this commercial about the Transformers. It was basically Megatron and Optimus Prime. They were narrating commercials. And I liked it so much because I still remember it. And Megatron starts off with, "We are conquerors," and Optimus would say, "No one is like us. Only we have the right to be called by the name. Only we are Autobots and Decepticons, good versus evil. And only we have the right to wear this symbol or this symbol. And only we have the right to be called the Transformers." See, I remember that. That memory is 30 years old. That memory is older than you are. That memory is probably older than 30. So yeah, so they've always had. As a matter of fact, most people believe that the GoBots were a copy of the Transformers, when actually the GoBots were at the American market first, and then the GoBots came. Well, the GoBots were first, and the Transformers came after. But the Transformers was so much more higher quality that people assumed that the GoBots were copies, but when they were not. Later on, the rest of the story. Hasbro bought, I think it was Tonka, whatever company owned the GoBots, and incorporated them into the Transformers universe. So, yeah, that was all. And you know how the Transformers came about, right?
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. They were actually like 2 or 3 different types of toy companies, and they were cobbled together to form one company. They actually hired, it's like, well, the company in Japan, oops, I keep hitting the thing. The company in Japan got together with Hasbro, and when they cobbled all of these different toy aspects together, they had wanted somebody to write a story based on these toys. So they hired a Marvel Comics writer, I think it's Badinsky. I would have to look it up, but they hired this guy Badinsky, and he wrote all of the Transformers lore, or all the beginning parts. So everything you know about Optimus Prime, Megatron, the Cybertron, all of that was written by this guy, this one guy. He made up the whole thing. So even where it originated in Japan, even they follow the basic what do you call it? Framework.
The basic lore.
Right. They follow the basic framework of the Transformers that he set up. And every other Transformers series after that still follows that basic premise that he made up. And even if you go
to a certain extent, they follow it.
Well, yeah. Well, even if you go to Beast Machines and Beast Wars, you still have a version of Megatron. You still have a version of Optimus Prime. They might change all the other Transformers, but they'll at least keep those 2.
I mean, you can't really get rid of them.
Right. So it was I can't remember all of them. There's a video I watched. If you watch this video in Toy Galaxy, they talk about it. And actually, to a greater extent, go to Netflix, and they have a toy series. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, I guess if you just type in toy in Netflix, it'll show up. But there's a series that go into history of toys. So they go into history of Barbie, history of G.I. Joe, and they go into the history of the Transformers. And actually, Transformers and G.I. Joe, they're actually linked together. There's actually a connection from the very beginning. So, but that's way too complex. But it's awesome. You should check it out. But anyways, what was the other thing? What else should be going on?
I played the new. Well, I can't say it's a new demo because I'm pretty sure it's been out for a while. Outrider.
You play Outriders demo?
Yeah.
What you playing on PlayStation 4?
Yes.
Because I tried to do it and I couldn't get it. I couldn't download it or nothing. it kept wanting to be a purchase. I didn't want to purchase. I just wanted to play the demo, but I couldn't do it. So How was it?
It's not bad. It has Gears of War and Destiny in it, like mixed together. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's got some cover elements of Gears of War. You got powers.
Yeah, I was gonna say Borderlands, but the enemies don't talk smack to you, so
right.
There's no Borderlands aspect.
Right.
I mean, I guess there is because the voice acting, something Destiny didn't do for your character. Your character doesn't talk. It's mainly your ghost talking.
Right. Yeah. They said. Well, the people who talked about this game, they said, the story is kind of standard and the voice acting is bad, but it's still fun. The only thing that really annoyed them was that there's a bunch of cutscenes.
Yeah, the cutscenes and the lip sync, they're not even linked. And I'm like, oh, God, please. Right. I know this is a demo, but please.
The cutscenes are really bad. And you're going to keep having them because the developer explained that the reason why, one specific reason why you have cutscenes is like when you're going from one room to the next and you're going through a door. So because it's multiple online players, they could not configure it so that players could be in different locations. So if one player from a group goes into a room, then they all have to go into a room. So it takes some time for the computer to calculate all that.
I mean, even when you're playing alone, it happens. So,
really?
Yeah.
I guess it's baked in. So that's why it's there. So it's the computer has to calculate, bringing all the players to the same room, and that's the cutscene. So if it's happening on single players because they didn't separate it, they didn't, they just wrote it.
I mean,
as
I
all
think
one
if
thing.
they talk to someone at Bungie, they can figure something out. Maybe
Maybe.
because Bungie has done it where
Well, they know why they can't do it. They don't have the capacity to do it. They don't have like the whatever required. They don't have the computational power. So Bungie is a big studio. Of course, they got the muscle to
this
do
is
it.
Square Enix we're talking about. No,
I think
again, Square Enix is
Square
a part.
Enix did
Yes,
this? I
Square
thought somebody
Enix
did.
is a part of.
Override.
Oh,
Outright.
Outright, yes. Square Enix is a part of this.
Wow.
Along
I thought it was
with, I think something called Fly Me to the Moon or Man to the Moon, something like that.
I think it's a smaller studio that's being published. That Square Enix publishes.
Square Enix is a part of it.
Right. They're a part of it, but I don't think they make the game. So all they doing is like, well, we'll help you distribute the game, but this is your baby. But anyways, but that was their explanation for it. So you thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
not bad.
I tried to get into it and I couldn't, so I was like, well, shoot, I guess I'm playing.
I guess you went to where it
Outer
says games
Worlds.
down to demos.
It didn't have the demo option. That's what I'm saying. It didn't.
When you go to the games tab, inside that games tab, there's a tab that says demos.
Well, I'll look for it later. Because I try, like I said, I tried looking for it. You know how they hide stuff. But what you call it? So I just went back to doing Outer Worlds and had fun with that and Mortal Kombat and whatnot. So watching your television?
Not really.
Oh, okay. I watched. I've been watching Superman and Lois. That's pretty good. I didn't expect it like it, because it's similar to Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman. Although in Lois and Clark, that's the courting phase. That's when they're just getting together and they're newly married. But it's not related to Lois and Clark, but it kind of continues along those threads. Superman and Lois are married, and they have 2 boys. So it's a larger family unit. So this is them as a family, and then trying to cope with Clark being Superman and being a family at the same time. So it works pretty good.
And I would say possibly with the along of his kids having his powers, because I'm pretty sure like, hell yeah, his kids has powers too. We're just gonna edge it on a little bit.
Well, spoiler alert, at least one of them have a little bit of power. So yeah, they of course, if Superman's gonna have children, they're gonna follow that logic that they have superpowers. So some of that is in there. In the comics, whenever he has children, they always have full power. But in this TV show, at least they're going a different route with that.
I mean, I wouldn't want them to have full powers on the go. Maybe build it up, sure.
No, I'm saying not. What it is that they have all of their regular, like they have the super strength, they have the flight, they have the heat vision. Right. It's just not as strong as his, but they have access to all of them. They're just not as strong as Superman.
Yeah, when they get older, they'll get stronger.
Right. That's the idea. But see, what it is that it's usually because they're his and Lois's kid, and when they're his and Lois's kid, it's just basically his genes are dominating, giving him full power. But in the TV show, I guess his genes are not as strong, or his genes aren't the dominant genes. So like one of his kids apparently has no power, and the other kid has a little bit of power, but not a whole bunch of it. So, and that's because he's only half Kryptonian, not full Kryptonian or whatever. So, but it's still it's the family drama aspect that I like about it. So that to me that makes it a good show. I think there's something good going on there, and plus he gets into punchy fights with an armored dude. I think is Lex Luthor. So I think they did reveal him as being Lex Luthor in the latest episode. It's a black Lex Luthor because he's from a different reality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So and he hates Superman because he's Luthor. What was the other thing? Oh, then finished WandaVision. So that was pretty awesome. Pretty satisfying. It's actually, when you think about WandaVision, it's basically the origin of the Scarlet Witch. Because you know how, like, in the movies and whatnot, they never call her the Scarlet Witch. It was always Wanda.
Yep.
And she never claimed that mantle. But in the series, you find out the Scarlet Witch is a thing, and a thing has manifests in Wanda. And so you basically, this whole series is about the origin of the Scarlet Witch. And so at the end of the series, I'm sure you've seen it on the internet, you see Wanda in her full Scarlet Witch regalia.
Yeah.
Regalia.
I seen it.
Did you see the one where they have her next to Magneto?
No.
I think it's Magneto from X-Men, the last X-Men movie, whatever. What was that one? Something about the Dark Phoenix. So, because his costume looks different, but Magneto's costume is mostly red. So they showed the similarities between her costume and Magneto's costume. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, that works. Right. So what else I do? Yeah, I'm watching YouTube videos just like you are, just not the same ones, and still listening to podcasts. The only thing I can say is that I started a new audiobook. Something about a vampire accountant. I think it's the third in the series of this vampire accountant. Goes on adventures with vampires, werewolves, and centaurs and whatnot. So that's pretty. He doesn't think his life is interesting, but he's doing the taxes of a centaur. So so that's going on. So what else did I do? I think that I've covered my entire life. That's my whole life. I didn't even really join the pictures last week. I need to get back into it. I got lax and lazy, and I didn't do anything. So I got to get back into that. I updated the website a little bit. I just changed how they show the clothes. I still need to upload the clothes from your mom. I need to do that. The design that she wanted, that you did for her.
Yep.
Yeah, still didn't. I didn't mess with that yet. I need to get into that. So I might modify it a little bit, but I'll get to it. So what you call it? So check out the website. You'll see exactly what I did with the clothes. So it looks way better on the phone than it did before, because before it was kind of a mess. What was the other thing? All right, let's get into the movie, because I'm done. I don't have anything else. Yeah. I've exhausted my I exhausted everything. Oh, hold on a second. I lost my thing. Hold on a second. Hold on. Where's the thing at? Oh, there we go. All right. Tell them about the Long Kiss Goodnight.
Samantha Kane lives in a small town with her daughter. 8 years ago, she emerged 2 months pregnant from a nearby river with no memory of her past or who she is. However, she is getting close to finding out about her past.
Yes. Released in October 11th, 1996. So, you're about 2 months old. By the time I realized, it's like, well, it's too late. I'm too deep into it now. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. By New Line Cinema, it grossed over $33 million in the U.S. and Canada, over $89 million worldwide, but that was on a $65 million budget. That is what they call in Hollywood an underperformance, or if you want to be rude about it, it's a bomb. And as a matter of fact, in order to really be considered a success, you would have to make like 3 times your money back or something like that. This barely made twice as money back on a worldwide receipt. So, wow, that $33 million, that's like half. Half of what it costs to make. That's not good at all. But I remember liking this movie. Although, as I was watching it, I realized I don't actually remember this movie that much. There's only one scene that I actually remember that wasn't in the trailer, and that's when she talked to that little boy. She told that little boy, "If you tell anybody you saw me, I'll kill you." So anyway, this movie was starring Gena Davis as Samantha Kane / Charlie Baltimore. She was one of the what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, one of the she's a Hollywood diva. Let's put it that way. She's a Hollywood diva from the 1980s and 90s. She was in some of the greatest movies of our lifetime. So she was in Thelma and Louise, The Fly, A League of Their Own. She was in a bunch more, but these I saw all of these movies and they were all great. It also stars Samuel L. Jackson as Mitch Hennessy. We've already said a ton about Samuel L. Jackson because he's made appearances in many of the films that we talked about here on this podcast.
Yeah.
He's been in Pulp Fiction, Do the Right Thing, The Hateful Eight, Django, most of Marvel. He's the connective tissue of Marvel, of the MCU. Also, Patrick Malahide. He played Leland Perkins. He's been on Game of Thrones and Luthor. Now, you notice that none of these people spoke with a British accent, but that guy is definitely British because most of his TV and movie credits are British credits.
I was going to say, you remember the Tom and Jerry movie, right?
Yeah.
Remember the guy that served the drinks?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that he's British, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, he is. Because in the interviews, I'm like, that man's British. Oh, wow.
Right. It was that man is talking funny. I felt the same way when it was Idris Elba. Because the first time I saw him was when I was watching The Wire. And I watched The Wire late. Like, everybody had seen The Wire by that time I started watching it. And I was like, yeah, this is a great show. And he played a character called Stringer Bell. You know, he was a straight-up drug dealer. And then, he gets killed off or whatever. And then years later, I seen him on interviews. And he's talking like this. And I was like, what? I was like, what? Oh, yeah, this movie also stars Craig Burko as Timothy. And he was in Cinderella Man. Brian Cox as Dr. Nathan Waldman. Do you remember the guy that was driving, that was trying to rescue the two characters?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And what's the name? And he said he keeps his gun by his penis or whatever.
Yeah,
that guy. So does that guy look familiar to you?
No, 100%. Not 100%. Really.
So and the funny thing is he doesn't change. Like he looks the same in every movie. He was in X-Men 2, X-Men United and Troy. So he was that. I guess he was a colonel. I forgot the character he played, but he was the guy that was keeping Wolverine. He was the guy.
Oh, okay, yeah. Now I remember.
I
remember him.
Right.
Yeah, him.
They gave him his adamantium.
Yeah.
There's David Morse. He played Luke and Daedalus. G.D. Spradlin. Ooh, I'm having a hard with these names. He played the president. Tom Amandes as Hal. Yvonne Zima as Caitlin Kane. That was the little girl. And Melinda Kanakarakdes as Tren. Here's something interesting. I didn't put him in this list, but do you remember or at least I don't think he's on this list because he had such a small role. But do you remember when what's her name? Gena Davis. What was the name in thing? As Samantha. So she's driving the drunk dude from the party in the very beginning of the movie.
Him.
And then before they had the accident. So did that dude look familiar?
Not really, but I want to say, yeah, he looked familiar, but not.
He was just in the movie that we saw, which is kind of funny. He was in Lean on Me. He played the mayor in Lean on Me.
Oh.
Because I was like, oh, I know that dude. So this movie was directed by Rennie Harlan. He directed some good movies. A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. He directed Cliffhanger and Cutthroat Island. Now, that actually wasn't a great movie. I just put that in there because that's related to this movie.
Okay. This was written by Shane Black. He has written the Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, Predator, and Lethal Weapon.
So do you know, are you familiar with any of these movies?
Iron Man 3, Predator, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you would know that one. So Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was an action movie. I watched it because I thought it was based on a comic. Turns out it's not based on a comic called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And the Nice Guys, I wanted to watch the Nice Guys, but I never got around to it. And Lethal Weapon, it's obviously a classic action movie. He actually did at least a little bit of writing on all of the Lethal Weapon films, but the first one is definitely one that he wrote. He wrote the whole movie. So the music is by Alan Silvestri. He did the music for Predator, Captain America, The First Avenger, The Avengers, and sequels, Judge Dredd, Eraser, and hundreds of others. If you listen to a music soundtrack, half of the time you're listening to Danny Elfman, some of the time you listen to John Mulaney, and some of the other times you're listening to Alan Silvestri. And the music that he makes is iconic for iconic action movies. The executive producers were Marco DeLuca, Richard Saperstein, and Steve Tisch. I only do the executive producers because there's far too many producers to list. A long name of boring people that I have no idea what they did. I didn't do my research on these peoples. I was like, okay, we'll just say.
That's clear.
Right.
So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to talk about our favorite parts of the movie, some movie trivia, and find out what some of the critics thought about the movie.
Friends, there's a beverage coming over the horizons that's going to give you that sweet, full-bodied taste you've always wanted. It's got that caffeine that'll put a pep in your step. It's got that flavor that'll make your mouth go pop. It's got that sweetness that'll make you forego all other refreshments. That's right, folks. We're talking about Nuka-Cola that's being developed in our labs right now. Our focus groups have determined that Nuka-Cola is the greatest soft drink ever developed, and with an excessive amount of caffeine and 120% the recommended daily amount of sugar, Nuka-Cola is guaranteed to keep you awake for your late-night gaming sessions. This amazingly delicious and refreshing drink, whether served ice cold, lukewarm, or hot out of the microwave, is perfect for those overnight drives from New York City to Denver, Colorado. Nuka-Cola will go perfectly with everything from medium steak and potatoes to cheesecake and popcorn. It's great for all occasions, from bar mitzvahs to funerals. It's yummy for all ages, from premature babies to your 101-year-old grandma. That's right, folks. Nuka-Cola is on its way, and it's the greatest soft drink that you'll ever try. Nuka-Cola. It just tastes good.
So, Zachary, thank you for returning to the broadcast. So, Zachary, what were your favorite parts?
So, of course, action scenes are going to be on that list. You know, any type of fighting that was there, that's going to be there. Good. Let's see, what was it? Oh yeah, Samuel Jackson explaining on him singing the blues just to remember what he does.
Right.
So he's like da 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 da, put the keys in the right pocket. Da 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 da, put the gun in the left pocket.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then at the scene where they're going to what was it, TransUnion, the train station?
Right, the train station.
Yeah, they go there. You know, he goes off somewhere inside the place. Comes right back to Samantha, and he's like, "Hey, you know the guy?" He's like, "Yeah, he looks familiar, but I just don't know him." He's like, "Oh, okay." And then they already know that they're 10 minutes early. And you're like, "Okay, let's see if he's around anyway." They turn around.
They're supposed to meet somebody.
They're supposed to meet someone. They turn around. They see someone walking up. They're like, "Is that him?" Maybe. And they call out his name, and all he does is nod. Slowly pulls the newspaper away from him that he has with him to reveal the gun. Samantha, who gained her memory a little bit back, in the first part of the movie because he has an accident, goes in the left pocket for the gun that Samuel had and start firing off.
Yeah, she fires through the pocket.
Through the pocket?
And hits the dude, and that starts this huge action sequence. So I should probably set up a little bit. So you have one woman, Samantha Kane, as we explained in the beginning, she has lost her memory. But she has a life as a school teacher. So she goes on with her life, and then she has this accident. She gets hit in the noggin, and then after the accident, she starts getting flashes of memory. So it's like she's cutting some carrots, and she's having a hard time cutting carrots, and she's doing it slow and inexperienced. The next thing you know, she starts chopping them real fast like a chef, and then she throws the knife at a cupboard, and the blade sticks into the cupboard, and she's like, chefs do that because she's thinking she's a school teacher, but she thinks that because she can cut so well that maybe she's a chef or whatever. And then there are other things that happen where like there's a fight in her house, and somebody's trying to kill her, and she's able to beat up the assailant. And I don't know, did she murder him? I think she may have murdered him.
I'm pretty sure she murdered him. I'm pretty sure she cracked his neck.
Yeah. And then she looked at her husband and said, no, her boyfriend, and said,
no, her husband, that's right.
Their boyfriend.
No, husband.
No, she wasn't married to him.
Yes, he was. She had a ring on. Remember? She has a ring on.
No, she had an engagement ring. That's her fiance.
Still, either way, they're together.
Her fiance. So anyways, I'm not implying that they weren't together, but I know they weren't married. So yeah, she has an engagement ring on. So anyways, she cracks his head and she's like, chefs do that. So that was funny. So anyways, so the part where Zachary talked about where when a detective that she had hired is finding out, he's helping her find out who she is because she has amnesia. So they got a lead and he's supposed to go to a train station to meet this guy to help her with her memory because he knows who she is. But they don't know this guy. They don't know what this guy looks like. So they see a guy walking towards the both of them. And she says, hey, are you, such and such? And the dude instead pulls out his gun. And before he could mow them down, Samantha goes into, what's his name? Sam's character. Mitch. She goes into Mitch's pocket and aims the gun through his jacket and shoots the other dude. So she gets flashes of her memory back. Like most of the time, she's kind of like, she's not a klutz, but she's not competent with things like firearms and knives. But every once in a while, she gets flashes of her abilities back.
I mean, there was also the scene where she puts together a rifle.
Right.
Because he was like, wait a minute, there's something about the suitcase. Go in, this is way before they go to the train station. They're at a hotel, and she's basically looking at her suitcase. She goes in her suitcase, looks at the bottom, and peels it back to reveal an unassembled rifle.
Right. The funny thing about it is that, so she doesn't notice how heavy the suitcase has been all along.
I guess not.
It has her clothes and it has some books in there, which is weird to have a bunch of books in your suitcase, but whatever's. I mean, especially if they were hardback books. I can understand if they were softback, but she had like 3 hardback books in her suitcase, and maybe that's why she didn't notice how heavy the suitcase was.
I guess it never dawned upon her about it. But yeah, like she uncovers the back of it, and she puts it together, and she's like, "Oh wow!" And I'm like,
"Right,
yep, your memories are definitely coming back."
Right, and then what's his name? Hennessy then bursts into the door. Mitch Hennessy. He bursts into a room, and she turns and fires on him, not realizing it was him.
Well, before that, what happened was, when she puts it together, she's looking at she still goes through the suitcase. She pulls out a knife. Pulls it out from the cover, then put it back in. Now, when she moves away from the mirror, her real self, which is Charlie, appears and slit her throat. And then she wakes up screaming, saying, okay, it was just all a dream. She turns around and sees the gun is right there on her bed, assembly.
Right.
That's when she picks it up and screams.
Right.
Mitch comes in and she fires a shot.
Right. Mitch almost leaves her at the hotel. And then he changes his mind. So
come on, give me back the money.
Right. So what are some other favorite parts you had?
I will say, I'm not even. Okay, so when Mitch gets kicked out of the car, that's a good one. He gets kicked out. He just lays there in the street,
right?
Pulls out a cigarette, pulls out a lighter, and just lays there. And then Charlie comes right back and says, like, get in.
Right.
So he's like, so you do have fine use for me.
So what happened is this is after Charlie gains all of her memory back. So she's fully her original self, Charlie Baltimore. So all this time, Hennessy has been driving the cars, whatever cars that they have. Usually they're his cars, but I don't even know what car they have this time. So, so she's driving around, and then Mitch complains, you saying I guess you ain't got no more use for me. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And so she kicks him out of the car while the car is still rolling. And then that's when Zachary's talking about he just lays on the ground and then pulls out a cigarette, just starts to smoke. He's in the street. He's in the street, just lying in the street. He makes no attempt to get up. And then she drives back around and she tells him to get back in the car because she finally has a use for him. What else can you remember?
Well, there was that one scene where she goes back to the little town to basically get the key bracelet, and she sees the kid smoking, and she's like, "What I tell you?"
Hold on, what kid is this? What kid is this to her?
Basically, it's her student,
right?
And he basically tells her to not smoke, and in the first scene, he's like, she tells him not to smoke. Take her his cooker.
When she was what's her name?
Samantha.
Yeah, when she was Samantha, she was a school teacher, and she tells the kid not to smoke. I forgot, or he gets suspended or something. No, she tells him if she can ever caught him smoking again, she'll bury the body where nobody will find
nobody
him.
will find.
But she's a school teacher, so she's just joking.
And hands him a cookie.
Right, and hands him a cookie. And then in the scene that you're talking about, the one scene that I can remember, she's I don't know. All of this is kind of weird because she doesn't have to sneak into her own house to she lives there.
I mean, the reason why she's sneaking in is because she's trying to leave. She doesn't want to be with that family. She doesn't want that.
Right.
So that's the one reason why she's trying to sneak in.
That's probably it. And in a way, it keeps them out of danger. So she's sneaking in with her long rifle, and as she's crossing over, and I guess excuse me, it might be the neighbor's yard, it might be her yard. I couldn't really tell. It's probably her yard. So anyways, she crosses in and she sees the same kid, and he's smoking. And then she said, "What did I say about smoking?" And then she takes his cigarette, takes a drag from it, and then gives it back to him. And then she just goes off.
No, remember, she was like, if you tell it when you saw me,
right?
I shoot you.
Said, if you tell anyone you saw me, I'll shoot you. And then she goes on into her house, and then that's when he throws the cigarettes away and pees his pants. So, and go ahead.
When Mitch is basically trying to sneak in and save the little girl, he's doing fine until he gets shots in the ankle and then is shot in the chest. And I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, something tells me he ain't even done yet because you're foreshadowing the fact that, there is a dead man in a car behind him. Right. Something tells me he's going to manage to get up, crawl in that car, and drive.
Right. So, what you call it? What was that? I don't know if I put this in the trivia, but I think he may have supposed to die in that scene, but test audiences didn't like that, so they kind of rewrote it so that he lives to the end. And yeah, so you talk about this is at the end of the movie where he's trying to where the little girl goes and she hides in a compartment
of the truck
of a tanker.
The worst part for her to hide in.
Right. Well, it would have been okay if they hadn't intended on driving the truck. So she's trying to hide from people shooting everything, and so she hides in an outside compartment, and so they know that the truck is a bomb. So Sam and Mitch, they go and try to rescue her, and so there's a bunch of men with guns around. So Charlie's in a position where she can snipe the dudes, and they get a hold of radio, so she can call out positions of dudes trying to flank Mitch. So he shoots some, she shoots some from her sniper position. It works out pretty good until Mitch gets hit. So, but that was cool though. That was cool how that worked out.
For my last final favorite scene is when Sam is pleading for help for someone to come save her and the daughter, and then the officer's like, "Oh, sorry, we can't do that." And then you hear Mitch talking about, "You can't kill me, motherfuckers," and just drives all out from the truck that they brought back in.
Right.
The car that he, got in from the dead guy that they pull out the freezer.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a complex plot. So what happened is that the CIA, in conjunction with some terrorists, were going to set off this bomb in this small town in Pennsylvania, and they were going to blame it on terrorists, and they was going to use that terrorist act in order to get more funding from Congress. So they was going to blame it on a Middle Eastern man. So they found this innocent Middle Eastern man. They killed him. They put him in a freezer. And then when they were ready to use him, they brought him out the freezer and put him in the car. And they was going to have the car nearby so that when the police were searching around, they would find the Middle Eastern man in the car. By the time they found him, his body would be totally thawed out, and they would say, "Oh yeah, it had to been this guy," and he was the guy that blew up the town or whatever. So that was their plan. So they kept the car in a different tractor trailer, and they had a tanker that was full of explosives. So they was gonna blow up the town, and then they was gonna leave the car somewhere. I don't know. It was kind of a dumb
A dumb plan.
Right. It's kind of a dumb plan because they could have did something different because it seemed like the car was way too close to the explosion. They was gonna find the dude dead, obviously, but I think there would have been a way to know that he was dead long before that this incident had taken place, even if he was thought out. There were a lot of technical glitches with this movie. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I liked all of the things you liked. And, of course, I liked the torture scene. The torture scene was cool. The torture scene was when she got her full memory back.
Full memory back.
Right.
There was a lot of foreshadowing in the movie.
Right. Any good movie would put some foreshadowing in it.
This one put a lot in it.
Right. But what I liked about the torture scene is that it was a unique form of torture. So it was kind of like a modified version of waterboarding. So what they did was they tied her to a kind of a watermill. So the wheel of a watermill or water thingy. I don't actually know what it's called. I think it's called a watermill. So anyways, so part of the wheel obviously dips to the water. And so the dude would lower. So she's tied to the outside of the wheel. And he would crank the wheel so that it would run her into the water. And then it would pull her out. But when she first goes in, she's mostly in her Samantha persona.
She doesn't know anything.
Right. She doesn't know anything about whatever plot that he was trying to do or why he tried to kill him as an assassin. And then every subsequent dunk, she would become more and more of her original personality. And then the last time he dunks her in, it's like she's fully in her Charlie Baltimore persona. And so she gets out of her restraint. And there's actually a dead guy already in the water. And she knows the dead guy keeps a gun in his drawers. So she reached down in his drawers, pull out the gun that he had kept there. And then when she was pulled out of the water, the last time, she just raised the gun and fires it at him.
Shot him in the leg, shot him in the arm.
Right. I think she shot him in the chest. Right. Shot him in the leg. Because it's like, before she gets done for the last time, she said, if you let me go, I'll let you walk. Obviously, he doesn't believe her. So, and then, of course, we talked about the little kid part. And then at the very end of the movie, they have that. It was more like a Die Hard line where she tells him to die screaming. Because earlier in the movie, she says, you know what, while she's captured, and she tells the main bad guy, you're going to die screaming. You know, he just chuckles it off or whatever.
I mean, he already knows that she's telling, like, he already saw that she was telling the truth about the child being his. He's like, she's right about this. Oh, well, that's something I'm going to lose. And then when he sees, like, you know I'm not lying, he's like, I need to hurry up and get out of here. Right. She's not lying.
So, and then what happened? Where they had the helicopter scene. So the whole thing at the end of the movie where she's being fired upon by the helicopter, but then she jury rigs away to raise herself to where the helicopter's at, and she shoots him. And then as he's falling down, she goes, die screaming, motherfucker.
So that's going to need some context. So at that scene, there's the truck with the bomb in it. It's already, on countdown. It's on the side, can't go nowhere. Mitch is there with the daughter in the car, and they're trying to figure out how to get away out. Now they can't go anywhere because the helicopter and the guy that's trying to kill her is shooting at them. And so she remembers that before that, she shot at a helicopter before, killed 2 people. One of them was burning, and as that person was burning, he had a gun on his waist. So she goes to where the light fixture is at that broke off during the first part, cuts it, and it basically caused her to move out because of, weight and gravity of the dead body.
Right, the dead body forced her body
up, and she grabs the gun, shooting at him.
She grabs the gun as she passes the dead, flaming body.
Shoots at him. He falls down screaming. She's like, yeah, you're going to die screaming, motherfucker. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
What she said came to true.
Right. Miraculously, this is a miracle that the gun didn't start popping off rounds when it got hot.
Yeah, when it got hot.
Right, because that normally happens. As a matter of fact, there were a number of technical glitches that I wanted to point out. Like there was a scene early in the movie where somebody throws a grenade at them and they're in the building.
Oh yeah, they're in the building, and the grenade doesn't really go off immediately.
Right, and sometimes they don't. So this is when she is mostly Samantha
With a few Carly in her.
Right. So there's a few Charlie flashes in it, but she's mostly Samantha. So he tells that when a grenade launches at her feet, he said, "Never mind, run for your life." And so they start running towards a window it's like a window wall at the end of the hallway of the hotel. So she's shooting at it, and then as they're running, the grenade explodes, and so she shoots at the window, and they're outrunning this flame that's following them from the grenade, and then they go through the window, and then when they start falling, she pulls out. She has a pistol and a submachine gun, so she pulls out the submachine gun and starts shooting at I guess it's the lake, or it's probably, let's say it's a lake. So she starts shooting at the lake that's outside of the window of the hotel, and breaks up the ice so that they can go through the ice without, because if you hit the ice from that height and it's not it's like it's a solid piece of ice, then you probably just kill yourself.
Yeah.
But she had the foresight to shoot at the ice with the submachine gun, breaks up the ice enough so that when they fall through, they go into the water and they don't break themselves in the ice. So that was a very cool sequence. I really love that sequence. But the thing is that grenades do not blow up like that. They just do not blow up like that.
They don't make a huge explosion.
They don't make a huge fiery explosion.
Another thing, the hallway was long enough for them to be at a safe distance.
Yes, if it was a regular grenade like it was supposed to, the hallway was probably enough to get to a safe distance from the grenade. Like they would still have to run, and they would still get probably some shrapnel in their back by the time they get to the glass. But it doesn't create like a fiery wall flame. But the 80s was famous for that. It took a long time for them to get like realistic grenade effects. I think it took video games. It took Call of Duty to tell Hollywood grenades don't go off like that. And then also. One of the main points of the movie was brakes. So she's driving this tractor trailer, and I guess he's trying to get it out of town.
Get out of town.
It's a bomb on there. And at the same time, she's trying to get her daughter out. She's trying to get it out of town and then be able to stop, get her daughter out. But she hits the brakes. She finds out that the brakes have been damaged because the brake has brake fluid, and the brake fluid is squirting. Now, trucks don't work that way, and there was a way that she could have stopped that truck. See,
emergency brakes.
Well, that and the trucks work on air brakes. So, maybe this is a different kind of weird truck that they have, but a truck of that type, they don't have brakes like she was trying to use. So, well, they do have brakes, but they have air brakes. So, in order for something like that to happen, actually, it's almost impossible for something like that to happen. Because what happens is that the only way you can damage the brakes if you destroy like the airbags that the brakes operate, because they operate on an airbag. But they only stop the truck if they're deflated. So if they have no air. Wait a minute, hold on, let me think. Right. So if they stop the truck, they have no air. But if you puncture the bags, then they'll lose air and the truck will stop. That means you can't get it rolling again. So it's like a reverse situation. So if you're driving a car, somebody cuts a brake down, you can't stop. But if you're driving a truck, somebody destroys the bags, you can't get it rolling. Or if you are rolling, it will stop on its own. Plus, you're right, they have emergency brakes. The trailer, because she was pulling a trailer, has its own brakes, and the truck has its own brakes. Now, the foot brake controls both truck and trailer, and so if one of them fails, the other one would still work. It can't destroy both of them. They're separated. The other thing is that you're right. You have emergency brakes. You could have just pulled the brakes, and the truck would have came to a sliding stop. But filmmakers either don't know or they don't care.
Probably both. He probably was like, wait, let's research this. Do they have a fluid? Okay, they don't.
Right.
Okay, we know it. We need this scene to work.
Could have used another type of vehicle, but I guess
van.
A van,
SUV, something.
an SUV, exceptionally large SUV. A limousine could hold a bunch of bombs. But they didn't do that. So, you gotta take good with the bad.
You gotta take the compromise.
Right. You got compromise. So that's all I got for some of my favorite parts. I thought overall the whole movie was pretty solid. I really liked it. How do you feel about the movie?
It was good.
Yeah, see, I knew you would like this movie. The funny thing is that I don't remember too much about it. I'm having amnesia about this movie just like the character is. But I can say for certain that I do remember liking it. That's all I know. I do remember liking it. So let's see, what is the next part? I guess the next part is the trivia.
Yep.
Let me start off with the trivia. On The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon on January 14th, 2019, so a little over a year ago, Samuel Jackson listed Mitch as his favorite role.
I mean,
so he still likes that role.
I mean, if you enjoyed playing the role, I'm pretty sure you listed too.
Right. I'm just saying that out of all the roles he's played since then, since the 1980s, that's one of his favorite roles. I found that remarkable.
Gena Davis and then husband director Rennie Harlan checked how long she could hold her breath in their bathtub to prepare for the water torture scene.
That's pretty harsh right there.
I'm like, okay, let's figure out how long you can hold your breath before we actually do this scene.
Right. That's hardcore right there. Hardcore way to treat your wife. Anyways, one of the movie's original locations was a historic Grand Hotel in Muskoka, Ontario, the 100-year-old Windermere House. During filming, however, the hotel caught fire and burned to the ground. The heat from the film lights were initially blamed for causing the blaze, but it was never proven that the lights started the fire.
Just wanted to put the blame on something that wasn't true.
Right.
Shane Black became the first writer to sell a script for $4 million. He later admitted that this caused a lot of envy among his fellow screenwriters, as well as accusation of commercialism. He voluntarily retired from the blockbuster industries for almost a decade as a result.
Yeah, I'm like, ain't y'all supposed to be selling scripts? I mean, just because he was able to sell his for more money, now he got these accusations of commercialism. Hey, ain't that's what you supposed to do? That's some BS right there. The film is famous for being one of the 3 big budget films that came out of indie studio New Line Cinema in 1996 and underperformed. The other 2 were The Island of Dr. Moreau, 1996, and Last Man Standing, 1996. Until their releases, New Line Cinema had specialized in low to medium budgeted genre pictures. Yvonne Zena, who plays Charlie's daughter, Caitlin, would work with Shane Black again nearly 20 years later on the films Iron Man 3 and The Nice Guys, both directed by Black. Now, I'm thinking that she was maybe not a love interest of Tony Stark, but some woman in that movie, but I don't remember. I would have to watch it again.
Trademark of screenwriter Shane Black, this film action occurred within the Christmas season, just like Lethal Weapon that came out in 1987, Iron Man 3 that came in 2013, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that came out in 2005, and The Nice Guys that came out in 2016.
Man, sure love Christmas.
Apparently.
Trademark of screenwriter Shane Black. While being held at gunpoint, Charlie disarms the gunman when he is distracted. Black screenplays often contain scenes where the hero is able to surprise a gunman who makes a fatal mistake, like in The Last Boy Scout, 1991, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005.
At 9 minutes into the movie, Gena Davis' character, Samantha Kane, is driving home Earl and intoxicated.
Intoxicated. You got it.
Intoxicated. Okay, member of her Christmas party in a Volo station wagon when they're involved in a car accident. When a vehicle strikes a deer, then a tree. In the beginning of the movie Beetlejuice that came out in 1988, Gena Davis' character Barbara Maitland is driving a Volo station wagon, same body style as the Long Kiss Goodnight. She swerves to avoid a dog and drives off a covered bridge, causing her and her husband death.
Man, Gena Davis has really bad luck with Volkswagens. Every time she's in a movie with a Volkswagen, she crashes into something. That's not good. It's not a good look.
I mean, at least this time she didn't hit. At least in Beetlejuice, she didn't hit any animal.
Right, she didn't hit the animal, but she caused her and her husband's death. So I think she should have hit the animal, and then they wouldn't have to go dead, and they wouldn't have to meet Beetlejuice in order to get people out of their house. You know, the motel in Niagara Falls is actually Milford Manor, a former resort in Milford Bay, Muskogee, Ontario. As it was closed for good, it did not matter if it burned down, like Windmere House.
Well, we don't care. This is the first movie to feature Samuel Jackson helping an amnesiac woman. Amnesiac woman to discover her past. The second is 2019 Captain Marvel.
You see how it goes full circle? A woman who lost her memory and is full of power, and Samuel Jackson is there to help bring forth that power. All right, so we know what you thought. Let's figure out what the critics thought. Now, this is interesting. On Rotten Tomatoes, both the critics and audience they saw eye to eye at 70%. And IMDb, because we normally do Metacritic, but it don't seem like IMDb where we get like that. All that stuff you heard before, all that stuff was from IMDb, and the stuff we're about to read now is from Rotten Tomatoes. But as far as reviews, IMDb used to display from Metacritic, but they're changing the website now. I don't see the Metacritic scores anymore, but they do have their own review scores, and they put it at a 6.8 out of 10, which is similar to Rotten Tomatoes. So I think I like this IMDb reviews better. It's more in line with what I'm used to seeing, because Metacritic is some BS. Anyway, go ahead and let the people know what the first critic thought.
Jonathan Rosenbaum?
That's good.
Okay, from Chicago Reader. Frankly, if I had to see either Harley Davis movies again, I'd opt for a clutchy, unpleasant of Cutthroat Island over the equally stupid, unpleasant of this 1996 release.
Yeah, so Cutthroat Island is famous for being a bad movie. It's just famous for being bad. I never saw it, but I'll take their word for it. If you tell me it's bad, I believe you.
So you're saying he would rather watch a very bad movie than this? Okay,
right. He would rather watch the worst movie put out than to suffer through another movie with this woman and her husband again. So Todd McCarthy of Variety wrote, "The Long Kiss Goodnight has a jokey good time with his outlandish pyrotechnics and offbeat character interplay." Yes, that is exactly right. He gets it.
Jeff Andrews from Time Out. The only saving grace are Davis' stripped down, mean as a wildcat portrayal of an ootsy-tooting Charlie and Jackson engagingly ineffectual turn. Ineffectual turn.
Right.
Yes, he does have a turn where it's like, I don't want the child to, whereas he's like, I care about the child now because they kidnapped her.
Right. And she's accepted the child as being hers.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, guys. Because he says Jackson's engagingly ineffectual turn. So it's like he's like an inept detective, right? So finally, Mike Massey from Gone with the Twins wrote, with fast-paced adventure. Oh, shoot, what did I write here? Demonstrative, maybe I was trying to write, because it's got a red underline, so whatever it is, I spelled it wrong. So with fast-paced adventure, demonstrative mayhem, a decent body count, an unflinching approach to mouthy dialogue, and a project is a shining example of an overlooked actioner, and I believe that is accurate. That's an accurate explainer or opinion, or how should I put that? It's an accurate representation of this film. I don't fault him for saying that. I'm like, yeah, you're right about right, because it wasn't super fantastic. It's not going to be a great actioner, but I really enjoy it. And if you want to check out this movie, it is currently available at the time of this recording on HBO, or what do they call it? HBO Max. That's what they call it. So yeah, watch it for absolutely free. Excuse me, I had something coming out of my throat. It's absolutely free. Go and check it out. So, any final thoughts?
No, the movie was good. That's all.
So, on the next episode, we're going to take a look at one of my most favorite action movies, Broken Arrow. I hadn't seen that movie in a long time. But just remember this when I say this. Ain't it cool? Because you remember that. You remember that when you watch this movie.
Okay.
Ain't it cool? Anyway, if you like the show, then please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Believe me, it matters. Be safe, hug your loved one, and be outstanding.